Hello, Mary Chambers. Welcome. So this is my passion project, 50 stories, 50 stories project. And eventually we want to do this into a podcast, but because we don't know how to podcast yet, it doesn't mean we can't start with something really cool. And my first guest is Mary E. Chambers. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Dawn. How are you today?
I am so happy and so excited to have connected with you and have met you through your daughter, Carrie. I'm humbled in her presence, humbled in yours. And it's just so exciting to start this because I've been thinking about this and to have you here. I'm so excited. So I'm going to, introduce you and we'll figure this out. So I do, as I showed you earlier, I do have your book.
Yes, and thank you, Dawn, so much for supporting Tulip.
Absolutely. So I'm going to read the about you so people can get a little, detailed here, and then we'll get into it. So Mary E. Chambers is an improvement-seeking risk taker that operates with the philosophy, just live the best life. With a compassionate heart for giving and an ever-present smile, true, she is a connector, often making friends wherever she goes. Before retiring from the federal government, her work helped transcend and improve processes for people with disabilities, making living independently an unexpected reality for many. Now a business owner, consultant, volunteer, and writer, she impacts lives through the development and implementation of effective communication tools, or as she terms it, evolving through communication. With her deep faith and eternal optimism, Mary believes her destiny is to continue to grow and share her love for mankind in this life. Through her writing, she plans to accomplish just that.
That's me.
That sounds like you.
Me.
That's so cool. Someday I hope to write my own bio that goes on a book as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So again, I'm so thrilled that you're here to share your story. And I do want to talk about age and, how old we are and the life that can be still so vibrant and does not need to be put on pause or hold because we age. So I kind of want to get up to the backstory of how you got to be where you are today. Tell me a little bit about your career at the federal government and how we transitioned into writing and how that came to be.
Well, Dawn, first of all, I don't even know how I ended up in the government because my dream was to go to Howard University, major in creative art. I always wanted to be a dancer.
We have that in common.
Yeah, isn't that something? Yeah, and I wanted to go to Hollywood like a lot of young ladies, but I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to do acting, but I fell in love and I married at a very young age. And at 17, I had my first child. I still continued my education at Howard, but I also landed an internship at the federal government, which was perfect because my husband was shipped out 6 weeks later after joining the military to Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
And here I was with, a young child, married, a government job, trying now to navigate this world without him. So with the support of my family, my grandmother, well, it was my mama and my papa, and I come from a very large extended family. I was able to successfully continue my education and begin working at the Department of Education, not knowing I was going to stay at the Department of Education for 40 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and I never, ever went back to my goal in life to become a dancer. Actually, I became an educator. I ended up getting my master's degree in education administration. I was very successful in the federal government. I got his GS-15, that's the highest level you can go. I managed a lot of programs, a lot of people, and I did a lot of things. And in the interim, I still would write here and there. But it was just me coming. I always journal. I've always been writing. When I was a little girl, I have writings back to when I was like 13 and 14. when they used to have little teen magazines and they would tell you to write articles. I used to write articles and send them in. So I still kind of dabble in writing, but being married, and then when my husband returned home from Vietnam, he came home with issues. We had another child. So by the time I was 19, I had 2 kids. So that didn't work, but I just kept on. I kept on with my education. I kept on working. And finally, that marriage ended. But after working and being successful, I wasn't happy. I did remarry, which is Carrie's father, and had Carrie. So I devoted myself to raising Carrie because my other 2 kids were older, giving her the best life possible. But everything was just wrapped up in Carrie. And then after Carrie,
it happens for mothers, right? So often, and that's part of why I'm doing this, because my life has been the focus of being a mother, right? And it's not that, I think it's hard to have everything all at the same time, working, being a parent and doing everything. It's a lot of effort, Yeah,
and let me throw in there, and at 20, I bought my first home.
Wow.
So not only that, I was a homeowner. I was in college. I was working. I had kids and a dog. I've always had a dog. And, I was, just imagine just doing all of that as from being a teenager. And then all of a sudden it's over.
I literally cannot. I remember where I was at 19 and I met my husband. So I've been with my husband. It was our 32nd wedding anniversary 2 days ago. But I've been with my husband since I was 19 years old. And honestly, we waited 9 years to have kids. I don't think I could have been a parent any sooner than I was. and I had my first at 30. So at 19, all that that's such a full plate, Mary. Seriously.
I even went to school when I was carrying my first child because I had to graduate from high school. And back then, they wouldn't allow you to. I was very outgoing in high school. I was a cheerleader and I was into acting. I was just doing everything. But once, I got pregnant, I had to leave that school, and my grandparents had to put me in a Catholic private educational setting. So that was so my life took a lot of twists and turns, but I always kept my eye on the prize. And and in the terms of that whole journey, my kids and my family became my priority, because by being raised by my grandparents, and I've never even spent the night with my real parents. So I always knew that I never wanted to abandon my kids. I didn't care how. And one thing, the beauty about being a young parent, you kind of grow up your kids, and then all of a sudden you're still young and you got these older kids out the way. It's like, and my son told me, he said, "Mom, I didn't realize how old you were." Except for when my friends be like, "Man, your mom is hot and young," because he didn't see them, right?
It was funny because, you say that, and we had kids when we were older, and my husband now, he's like, "We could have been empty nesters by now. We should have had kids sooner." I'm like, it's still the same time investment, but I see your point. You're still hot.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. And it was like, and then all of a sudden when Carrie was gone, and she was very active, so I was very active with her. I said, "You know what? I don't need to keep this federal government job anymore." My husband and I, we managed our money very well. Our house was paid for. We have a mortgage. And I was like, "You know what? I'm done." It is time. Carrie texted me. She better leave me alone. But I said, "You know what? I want to do something." I was so unhappy at work. Everybody said, "You don't seem like yourself." I was like, my age is creeping on. Here now, I'm 57.
Okay.
If I don't do some of the things I want to do, I'm not going to have an opportunity to do that because tomorrow is not promised.
Right. It's not. How long were you feeling this unhappiness and at work? It wasn't the whole career, right?
No, by the time I turned 50.
Okay.
By the time I turned 50 and Carrie was in college, I started feeling like, yeah, it's time. I just felt like time. I wasn't doing my passion. I wasn't doing what I was meant to do on this
Right.
earth. I was good to people. I love working with people with disability. And like I said, I did very well in my career. When I left, I was supervising something like 20 people, but, and I was, I had parties for them. I was a good manager. But what's really something, Dawn, when I became a young mother and the struggles that I saw a lot of other young mothers going to by being at this school, I started my first business called United Self.
Okay.
That business was, now I'm only 17, and what that business was supposed to do was supposed to help young girls, provide them with support and tools when they find themselves, in I'm not going to say unwanted, an unexpected pregnancy, and they don't have the support. That was my first business.
At 17?
At 17. And it was called Us, United.
I wonder where Carrie gets that initiative and that entrepreneurial spirit from.
Yeah, that's her. And I never let go of that because it was, so once I did a lot of things. Now, once I left the federal government, I finally made a decision. I said, I'm gone. I prepared my staff for 2 years. I said, in 2 years, I'm leaving. They was like, no, you're not. People always say that, but I did. And while I was there, I started evolving through communication because I said, I definitely want to have my own business. Yeah. But as soon as I left, and I said I also wanted to volunteer, I wanted to give something back. So initially, for about the first 6 months after I left my job, I actually volunteered for an organization for women, dressing women for success.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I did volunteer work with them. I did volunteer work at my church. And I was like, I'm still not doing what I want to do. So then I signed up for an acting school. I'm still not doing anything in my business. So I actually, the only problem with the acting school I wanted to go to, it was so far away, and the only time I could get my classes was at night. So one of my former workers who was a contractor, he said, Mary, we really need somebody to run this program. You can set how much you want to make an hour. I was just playing with him. I said, well, what if I want to make 100 or 150? Hold on 1 second. Hi there. Say hi, Dawn.
Hi, Levi. Hello, sweet baby.
Carrie said hi.
Hey, Carrie.
Yeah, I had my 2 o'clock. Hi, Boo.
I guess I'll edit that out.
Yes, we'll edit you out. Okay. So one of my former contractors came and he said, I got this business. I don't care if I pay you $150 an hour. And I said, fine.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing that for 10 years.
Wow.
Running contracts for his company, and ended up actually taking another job at another country. I mean, I could work from home, but I would go in and do government contracts, help them write the contracts, and then became the project director of the contracts. So I said, well, here I go again, but I was still beginning to write on Tulip. So during that 10 years, I was developing Tulip.
Right. And what we learn too, and I'm learning sometimes, that we can have a dream and it takes way longer than we expect to get there. But that doesn't mean it's not supposed to happen, or you give up on it, or it wasn't meant to be. But you were talking about that writing, and then you got pulled back into the, this other work, but that dream is, kind of still there. And so I've experienced some of that too. I thought I wanted to be a realtor, and I went through all the process, and then I got there and I started doing, I'm like, I don't want to do this. And there was a certain guilt that I felt going through that and thinking, well, I'm supposed to do this. I can't walk away from this. But, the journey has detours, right? And we can be graceful with ourselves and forgive ourselves. If we do get detoured, I do get detoured too, like you did, Mary. I've had it happen to me, but back to sometimes stuff takes way longer than we think. And detours are okay, and be kind to yourself.
And then I had a problem with saying no. And
yes.
That was
me too.
Yeah, exactly. Because when I wanted to stop 5 years before, he was like, well, Mary, they weren't going to win the contract unless I was on the contract, because I came with the government experience. So I was winning them contracts, $1 million contracts, because of my experience. So they needed me. But finally I said, I'm done. I got to stop. But at the same time, I started developing when my mama passed. And I said, you know what? I need to honor her. I need to tell her story. She's an ordinary woman, but she was awesome. And I need to, it's okay that I helped take care of her, and she knew I loved her, and I continued my education. I wasn't a failure. I was successful in God. I need to honor her, for she can have a legacy. So children, our other kids like Levi and that come behind her, they will know this is her great-great-grandmother.
That's pretty cool.
Know her story. So I started developing Tulip, and I was writing on it. And Carrie's like, I am so tired of hearing about, there it is, Tulip. And I was telling my hairdresser, I'm writing this book. Well, when are you going to finish? Everybody's like, when are you going to finish this book? You kept talking, the pressure's on now. I was like, I'm getting there. Then it's everything just comes together. Carrie's roommate when she was at Georgia Tech, Renita, they both started working at Procter & Gamble.
Okay.
So they decided that they wanted to stop and start a business. So they started a business together, but then they both didn't like the business together, decided to do something else. And Renita became a publisher.
Oh. Did she publish your book?
Published my book out of Atlanta. So
I saw that it was published out of Atlanta. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes, that was Carrie's roommate. So it kind of like, oh, now I really got I have no excuse now. And, one of my former boss, Fred, and I love him dearly, he is an editor. He was like, and I told him he couldn't read my book, because when he was my supervisor, he used to mark my work up with red. We're friends now. And I was like, don't put red ink on my work, But so I told him, I was scared of, when you write and you put yourself out there, Don, you feel so exposed. The movie Carrie, they all gonna laugh at me. That's how I felt. You feel like, oh, they all gonna laugh and you're, oh man, you're so hard on yourself.
Oh, we totally are. I mean, and sometimes we have to remind ourselves, the world doesn't see us the way we see ourselves, right? And the things that we critique ourselves, a lot of people don't even notice that, right? But I can't imagine, and again, on my list of things to do is writing a book. I have a couple of different ideas. One idea is a very, very personal, which would be exposing a lot and, exposing my husband. I'm okay doing that. He's more private. And so I'm getting that analogy for exposed. I totally get it. I'm very comfortable with just, flashing everybody, if you will. My husband be covering up, but that's a really good word, exposed, but you took that risk anyway.
And let me tell you what happened. I went to church, and I was at church, and this lady, you have your mean old ladies that sit on the front row in church. They don't talk to they don't sit in my seat. This is my church was over. She was like, Mary. She was calling me, and I was like, what do you want? She said, come in. I read your book. Oh my God. And I'm sitting there looking at her. She said, I loved it. That was the first response. I started crying in church. Of course, other little nosy people in the church came, what is wrong with Mary? And I was like, she said, you got to get her book. Everybody got to buy her book, because hey, Mary, sign my book. And that was my first, and I was good. And it happened in church.
Oh, what a perfect place for you.
Yeah. And by then, let me see, I probably was 67.
Okay. So published at 67.
Yes.
But I mean, that's, the thing about it, and what I want to bring to, well, I'm thinking actually I'm going to mail this to you so you can sign it and send it back to me.
Yes.
You don't mind.
I said, Carrie, after COVID, you need to have an in-person conference. So, wouldn't that be great? So we could all get together.
Oh my gosh. And that's just a side conversation because I've met you through Carrie's project. I've met a couple others. I'm a group leader for one of the groups and trying to put myself out there, be accessible and available. I'm learning just the same way as everybody else, but I've had a couple people reach out. I've had calls with and supporting those people. I'm thinking, well, maybe I should be a career coach instead, because I am very empathetic. I've been through a lot. I have more to, grow and learn, but I have some wisdom, based on experiences, trauma, all that. But just again, sidebar, in-person conference for all of us. Oh my gosh, I would just go just to meet Carrie. I love that girl so much. It's ridiculous.
And that's what Carrie, this is her profession. So I wasn't, I don't take advantage of her. She said, Mama, you need to change now and do more social media. She said, there are a lot of women your age or even younger can learn so much from you.
Yes.
And you need to tell, you need to, I don't know if I want to, but
she's not wrong.
Yeah, I'm taking her class and I'm a paid member. So I said, no, I said, no, I'm going to pay. You're going to give me the same thing you're giving everybody else. So, and it's been wonderful. In fact, I'm like watching her and like, who is this person? But I'm not, so, and she's had to come full circle to find her niche as well. So, so that's how I've come to be here. But after I finished this trilogy, I had so many books in me. And since I like to write poems as well, I integrated my book, as you can see.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So then I've had people say, well, why don't you just write a book of poems? I said, I may be, but I have a project that I want to work on. It's like calling me. So stay tuned after I finish this. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing. And that's one reason why I wanted the beach house. I wanted something serene that I can be comfortable. I don't want it where I have to be in the house like, let me get up and scrub this floor and do this. I want some place that is mine that I can feel good to write in.
Oh yeah, inspirational, a creative space.
Exactly.
And as I think about my target for, the eventual podcast, and again, I don't have all the pieces in order, but I'm starting because we have stuff to share, right? So we're starting video, however we do it. And thinking as I go through Carrie's class about our demographic and who we're trying to reach with this, part of me wants to reach the people, at my age. So I'm 53 now. My kids are getting a little older, and I have felt, what do I do now that my kids are grown up? Because that had been my life primarily. And I've always kept busy, but it's truly when they're not the 100% focused. Now I have this time to not reinvent, because I was talking with somebody yesterday. I don't want to use the word reinvent myself because there's nothing wrong with me. It's my time to further bloom and discover myself, right? So I want to use careful words because I think reinvent, it implies that you have to fix something, maybe, but blossom.
You're going to release those creative juices.
Release, discover yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I think our demographic is people my age getting to this point saying, oh my gosh, well, I'm not going to do that because no one goes back to school at 55 years old, right? I can't do that because of my age. And I don't want age to be an excuse for anything, because you had your first book published at 57. Did you ever think to yourself, I can't do this?
67.
67. I'm sorry. Did you ever
Right.
think to yourself, I shouldn't do this because I'm in my 60s? Did that ever?
No.
No. Good. Good.
It never crossed my mind. Now, the only thing I did, pandemic hit, I did sign up for some college courses because I do want to take some writing courses. I wrote that without taking any college courses.
Yeah.
So I want to just make sure that I'm using, just organizing it, because it takes me a long time to edit. Every time I try to edit something, I'm totally rewriting, which a lot of authors say that they do.
Okay.
I just want to learn some other tricks of the trade. So I will be going back to school as well.
Because you never stopped learning. There's no need to stop learning.
And I just feel like, one of my neighbors told me this morning, he said, Mary, you're so consistent, because I get out at 7. They see me, I leave out at 7 o'clock in the morning. I walk 3 miles. And I said, you know what? I like cookies. So if I'm going to eat some cookies, I better get out and walk and do some exercise. And and the thing is that I'm not the typical grandmommy type that's going to sit there. Now, trust me, Carrie will tell you, Christmas time and holidays, I bake. My grandkids have cookies, cake, pie. That's Christmas and holidays. That's it. No more during the year.
No more.
I have 10 grandkids. And in fact, one of them today, he called me and asked me, could we do a one-on-one? And he's 17, and sometimes they just like to be with me just by themselves.
Yeah.
And, that's it. But when I don't want to babysit, and I don't want, they know. They'll text me, what are you doing today? I'm busy. But that's not to say you should feel guilty, or, when your kids have, kids, that I'm going to stop everything I'm doing because I'm going to take my little ones to school. That is not my responsibility. I'm here as a support if there's an emergency, but I will not raise your kids if you are able to.
Yeah.
So that's the stand that I had to take.
Yeah.
My grandkids and I are very, very close. Sometimes my other 2 kids don't like the way that I do things, but they got over it, because they see that I'm active. I'm not, just a stay-at-home type. So the age, I just had a birthday September 1st, and I turned 71. And when I tell people, I'm 70, they say, no, you're not. I said, I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am, and the thing about it is that I am blessed to be able to get up and walk 3 miles. I'm blessed to be able to do Zumba 5 days a week. And I'm not going to stop until I can't do it anymore.
Why stop? Right. But I do think people, and part of this is they do stop. I'm too old. Right. And I just want to shatter that notion that age can define what you choose to do to bring joy to your life, right? And you're doing that, and you're a shining example of that for others this age, but also, and I think about in terms of Carrie's social media and demographics, how your story could inspire a young woman in her 30s to know that, oh my gosh, I think my life's going to end at 50 or this, that, but the diversity in age and being part of a larger group that is diverse in age. And I think we talked about this. My partner had me watch The Intern again, that movie with Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro. And he was a widower, I believe. And, he was in his mid 70s, and he came to intern at this office and brought so much wealth of experience. And he learned from younger folks, and they learned from him, and it was so beautiful. So I feel that, and I know we want to niche down according to Carrie, but it's like I think your story could inspire somebody just as young, or even to do something at that young age too,
especially if they are a young mom and married, and they see, oh man, I done gave up everything, I'll never have an opportunity. Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Yes, you
Right?
will.
Right?
And the thing about it, because like they always said, it's never too late.
No.
But you can make it too late. It's all
Right, in action. Yes.
Exactly. I had friends my age, and they was like, did you watch this? I said, I don't turn on the TV until even. I'm serious. Morning news, TV is off all day. I've never I've never been a person that took naps, and I've never watched a daytime story in my life because I've always worked.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really got, now if I want to binge watch something at night, then I'll do it. But
Mm-hmm.
I can't waste my time just doing that. You know what I mean? Because I feel guilty when I sit down and really want to sit down and binge watch something. I say, now you should be writing a chapter, So
Tell me something you've binged. Tell me a guilty pleasure and tell me something you've binged.
What did I binge that was really, really good? Let me think, because I love old black and white movies.
Oh,
I just love Betty Davis and
mm-hmm.
Crawford. I'll go on to AMC Classic and just watch movie after movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all this new stuff and all of that. Some of it I will. I can't even really think anything.
Humphrey Bogart, the Maltese Falcon,
noir. That's acting. A person who wanted to be an actress can recognize somebody who's give a good performance.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have to think about the last thing that I actually did. But basically, I'm an old movie something. My grandkids left them, they go, Grandma, I'm watching those black and whites.
Our son wants to be a filmmaker, and he went to film school, and he's always watching. And then when he comes to visit, we'll turn on AMC and we'll watch movies that I've never heard of. Some of the classics that are well known, Maltese Falcon, things like that, but some other ones. And just and the lighting when they're black and white movies is so dramatic because they don't have colors and just the lighting
and the romance and
exactly
the way they went in for a kiss is just
right.
Like, oh my God, you know what I binge watched? It, the handsome black man that played in the Queen Victorian age. What was the name?
Luther.
Yes.
You like Luther? Okay, we have so much in common, Mary, because I love Idris Elba.
Yes. But so that's me, and that's my story. And I have a very supportive family. I have a very supportive husband. Now it's going to be different for me because my husband just retired. But I told him he has to find his own niche. I said, because I had a routine now while you were at work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be getting up every morning. Let's go out to eat breakfast. I don't do that. I don't mind one. And I would sit down and talk with him. Maybe 1 or 2 days. If I feel like we want to do that, we can do that.
Yeah.
I said, I have things like I'll eat for breakfast and that's it. But you can't change my schedule. Because he's like, what are we doing today? I was like, I know what I'm doing. Like today I got up really, really early because I'm an early riser.
Mm-hmm.
And I planted mums out front. My got some big, beautiful yellow mums. So everything is done outside. And I knew I had to do things a little earlier because I was going to get with you. And then when I finish with you, then I'll do if my grandson doesn't want to get together, I'll do my writing and call Carrie my baby back. But
so,
that's what I'm afraid of, is that he needs to now find his own niche, because I have my mission, but he's supported me. He actually wants me to write a children's book about our dog, because our dog has all these friends in our backyard. He has Mr. Button, a black-eyed squirrel.
Oh my gosh.
And Tiki Bird. So my husband said, you didn't gave all them names. Why don't you write a book about him?
Wrong. It's not wrong.
And their little adventures. Because I'll be talking and saying, now look, I'm out there today and I'm acting like I'm the dog. How are you doing today? Let's go down. So I might do that one day, just to write a children's book.
I love that. So I don't know if we covered it. So Tulip is the first in the trilogy. And you have started on the second one, right?
Yeah, the second one is, as you can probably see how it ended. Oh, you haven't read it yet.
No, I haven't finished it. So
okay.
don't.
I won't tell you the second one. It's the second one. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, should be published early next year.
Okay.
My goal was to have it actually this month. But, with everything that was going on, it just didn't happen. Yeah. So, and I'm not rushing it. So, And then, yeah, so early next year, I'll have the second book out.
Okay.
Then I'll start on the third one. But I think while that one, I'm pushing that one, I'm going to use social media a lot to push the second one. Because with Tulip, you know, I was doing book readings, going to book clubs, and I had friends who really stepped up, you know, with their sororities, and I met with them. Howard really accepted me with open arms. What I was trying to do was get Tulip actually in the libraries at the colleges and universities.
Okay.
To become a read. I was trying to get some of the professors too to make it a mandatory read, because you know, it's good for students. You know, your book does well when you can do that. But it didn't happen. But that's because I stopped. But I was actually one of those. I was actually beating the pavement. You know,
that's what it takes. Yeah.
Going up to bookstores.
So you've got those, you know, 3 books in the work. Is there like something else that you've always wanted to do, that you look to the future, that you might be starting something else that's on your list of things to do because you're still young?
Yeah, I'm very compassionate, and I like giving back, and I like volunteering. In fact, they've asking here at the Children's Hospital, but I have a bleeding heart too. And my husband never wanted me to work with kids because he figured I would always bring them home. But they're looking for people because of the pandemic and the virus to come in and rock and hold the babies. Because while the hospital staff is so overwhelmed that they got to treat people, but the babies want to be, parents are not there. Their babies want to be picked up and held and rocked, and they will vet you. It takes a 3 weeks process. So I've kind of looked into it. I have a dog that I was in the process before the pandemic of getting him trained to be not a service dog. What's
therapy dog?
Therapy dog.
Therapy dog.
I like for my dog to be a therapy dog to go in to senior home. Yeah. So I want to do something more on the giving back. I'm not pursuing Hollywood anymore. I thought one time I wanted to do commercial. That's not my thing. I may do some community theater. Okay. So I may do that. So that's on it too. But definitely something giving back. I may not do the hospital things because I am a bleeding heart, and I know I probably get attached to the kids. So yeah, I have to be careful about stuff like that because I know my personality.
Yeah, you have to kind of protect that. It's not that. I feel you. I'm a bleeding heart. Yeah, I get it. You don't have to explain it to me. I get it. But that's wonderful. But just the list of things to do, and you continue to do those things or try new things. And I like the idea how you don't want to waste your time watching TV, and you're just living, and you're 70 something and you choose to live, and that's so awesome. And you can do like something really cool in your 80s. I mean, look at Betty White, for crying out loud.
Exactly. There she go. Right. Now there's another thing I do want to do. You remember Alfred Hitchcock? He did those short stories film. I do want to write short stories like that.
Oh, okay.
And have them produced.
Oh, well, my son's working on getting in that industry, so.
Oh, yeah, I've been giving some stories. And I do write lyrics.
Really?
So I haven't done that. Well, it kind of runs in with your poems and everything.
Yeah, sure.
So I do that so I could go that route. But yeah, Dawn, I'm going to be. Then I finally got my little granddaughter, so Levi, I'll be just, hanging with grandma and learning some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's still so much to do. And Mary, you're truly an inspiration for somebody who might be sitting there thinking, well, why try? I'm too old. And I just don't like that mentality. We're still here, you still have value. And I know when we first met last week, a week and a half ago, we were talking about, retrospective and looking back and how we learn things in each decade, right? It's like each decade of life unleashes some sort of lesson. Like when I am in my 50s now, I look back on my 30s and thinking, gosh, my perspective is so different, but I knew what I needed to know then, because that age and the gift, honestly, of aging is a gift that we can be here and still experience things. And I think it should be treasured far more than it is in our society. But it's like, we learn these amazing things each decade. You know, a
Exactly.
30-year-old shouldn't know what I know. You know things that I have yet to discover or learn, right? And that's where there's value in sharing the stories and of different ages and demographics and
Well, I
stuff.
can tell you that it gets better. It
Yeah.
really does in terms of the things that's, I mean, just in your own marriage, the things
Mm,
that we would do because we want to please our husband and do that. It doesn't become, it's not a priority. It's
mhm.
kind of like, okay, I'm married to you, I'm your wife, okay, and I love you and I have you, but I can't make you my full priority, you
Right.
know. So if things in before, I would have never thought like that in my 30s or my 40s. But
Exactly.
but it becomes different. It's kind of like you want to eat, this is what I'm eating. If you don't want to eat that, honey, it's on you, And I would have, yeah. So things do become different.
Yeah.
You don't mind saying no. You
Hmm.
don't mind saying no. You're not as needy. You're not as needy. You know,
Hmm.
oh, so and so didn't call me today. Did I say something wrong to that person? Why haven't I heard from her? You're thinking, and it's not even about you.
No.
It's not even about you.
I've learned that lesson. I remember being in my 30s and something happened to me and not having it. I think it happened maybe in my mid 40s where I understood everything was not about me. And
Mhm.
because somebody did not get back to me, it has nothing to do with me. But we do absolutely think that. And growing out of that is such a relief.
Mhm.
you
And
know.
one thing I do want to say, Donnie, we've heard this throughout our lives as women. We never ask.
Mm,
We never ask. We keep in our mind what we want from people, from society, from our home, from our spouse, but we never tell and we never
yeah.
ask. You have to ask and you have to verbalize, and you'll be surprised. It'll come.
Yeah.
It's kind of like rub my feet. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so women have to learn how to ask, you
Yeah.
know, and not always be giving and giving and giving.
That's a hard transition.
It is, but it comes with age.
It does. It's a hard transition. And because that's ingrained in us, first of all, right? The nurturing role, and then you become and then it something like, I feel like there was a biological change in me when I had a child, that I couldn't understand how I could love a person that much. I was so clueless.
Mhm.
But that nurturing, and I'm to the point now where I don't want to take care of everybody anymore. I'll be honest. And there've been some changes in our marriage, and I feel it's grown to such a good point, that my husband and I are on the same page in the most powerful way that we've ever been in our entire marriage. And our youngest daughter lives at home, and one of my biggest, when you talk about, well, this is what I'm eating, this is what's for dinner, my eating schedule has kind of changed, and I don't want to be responsible for other people and what I choose to feed them anymore.
Other adults.
Other adults, because they're adults.
No, other
My
adults.
daughter's still like, well, you're the mom. I'm like, we're an adult. You're going to be 12.
I was the mom.
And it's the funniest thing when it comes to food. What's for dinner? I don't
Right.
know.
So what are you cooking?
I mean, I don't want to decide what anybody eats anymore, because honestly, I can eat a big lunch and I'm fine for the rest of the day. I could not eat dinner.
A little secret, Don, whenever either your daughter or your husband cooks something, just say, oh my gosh, this is the best ever. You have to make this again. I have never had anything so great. I will never be able to make this like you. And it works. And I used to like put the meat out. I tell my husband, you season so much better than I do. Could you season this? Well, I don't have to sit here and do everything.
No.
I go to the store, I buy it, I bring it home.
Yeah.
And one thing I've never had to do is my daughter say, it's so funny because her husband doesn't do it either. I've never taken groceries out the car. Yeah, my husband always take them out. I will put them up, but then now I have to clean and cook and serve. It'll change.
Yeah.
But
I'm lucky because my husband's always cleaned. So
Yeah.
he's always done that. And the agreement was I would cook and then he would clean. And right now I'm almost like, I'd rather do the dishes than cook.
Right. And you recall when the generation went through, I don't know what age, maybe they might have been 50. It's about me. But I didn't take that position because it's not just about me, because my me has a world. It's just that I had to change to start doing things a little differently, because I still have this world, and I like that part of me.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to be my number one priority, and I don't want to be my sole purpose.
Exactly.
So that's what started changing for me.
Yeah.
And, so.
Oh, look at that smile of yours. Oh my gosh. Isn't there something in your bio about being a contagious?
I know everybody talking about leave that smile. I said, she got her grandma smile.
She does. There you go. Oh my God, she's precious. Well, Mary, I'm going to wrap things up, but it's been such a privilege to get to know you even better. And I'm grateful that you were my first guest. And thank you so much for starting this journey with me, and for the others that we can inspire and share, Mary.
You're so welcome, Dawn, and I'm so happy to be a part of this. And I like to end by saying happy reading.
Actually, happy reading.
Bye, Dawn.
Bye.
Bye.